All right, well, welcome. Thank you very much for coming. This is the first Neighborhood Connection of the year, and we're going to have some presentations. Most importantly, we're going to hear from you after we do some of these presentations, but we want to make sure that we provide some information to you. So we'll have a public safety briefing, a public works update, let you know what's been going on and what we plan for the summer, and 2019 and beyond, and I'll give you a progress report about what's going on. And again, the most important thing is that we hear from you. We are recording this. What we'll do likely is air this on Channel 21 for our neighbors who couldn't make it tonight, just let you know. So I want to thank our videographers and our staff here. The whole goal of Neighborhood Connections is to make sure that we can get out there, bring City Hall staff to you in your area neighborhood, and we try to do at least a couple of these a year. We've got our police department folks, our department directors, and our city council members here as well. Let's do some welcome introductions. We've got I'll introduce the deputy mayor here in just a moment to introduce the council. In fact, why don't we do that right now? Our deputy mayor, she makes her way up here. We've got Susan Honda, which I'll introduce in just a moment. We've got our department directors. Could I see all the city personnel and department directors raise their hands? All right, let's give them a big round of applause for all they do for us. We appreciate it. Okay, and let's give a big federal way welcome to our deputy mayor, Susan Honda.
Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. I'd like to introduce some council members we have here. We have Council Member Tran and Council Member Moore. They're in the back of the room. And then we have 3 council members representing us in Burien tonight. There's a Quiet Skies meeting on the airport issues. And Councilmember Johnson, Kopang, and Estefa Dawson are there tonight. We couldn't be in 2 places at one time because both started at 6 and ended at 8. So didn't work to go to both. I'd like to start with some things that council is doing. We are starting a new program. We're calling it Coffee with the Council. And our first one will be on May 4th, which is a Saturday, from 1 to 3 at the City Hall. And it'll be informal. We'll talk a little bit about what we're working on. And then the main focus is to hear from you and your concerns, and you can talk to us one-on-one. We're there for you. One of the newest things we're working on is the Senior Commission, and that Saturday we want to hear especially from seniors. So if you know someone who has some input or who is interested in that, have them come in and talk to us. We might not call it a senior commission, we might call it a different name, and we want to know what seniors want to get out of it, because we need to write an ordinance to create it, and the ordinance has to say what we want as a council, this commission to do. So we hope to have the commission up and running by fall at the very latest. We'll probably have 9 members on it, and as most of our commissions do, and then the commission will take it from there. So we hope that you come, and you can talk about anything, but that is going to be one of our focuses on that day. We also are excited because we have a Facebook page now, and we as council members cannot respond to you on Facebook. If we do, it could be called a meeting, and we would break some laws. Our administrative assistant, Jerry Lynn Clark, if you send us a question on Facebook, she sends it to us on our email, and then we can respond to you that way. So we hope that you look at the Facebook page, and we're trying to keep it, well, she's doing all the work, I'm not, very current, and with what we're doing, and we're very excited to have it. And I think that's all I have to say. I'm really glad you're here tonight, and I hope to see you all on May 4th, and your friends, and your children and grandchildren.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, and this represents our management team, folks that work for you at City Hall. from our police chief and finance director, and you see all those folks. Those are the management team folks. They head up the departments. And we have about 350 employees that work for you at City Hall. About 130 of those are law enforcement officers, and then the rest work in the various other departments. Public safety briefing. The chief is out of town for the next couple of days, but our Deputy Chief Kyle Sumpter is here to tell you about crime statistics and certain pointers. Deputy Chief?
Thank you, sir. You got the clicker? Thank you. It's my pleasure to be with you in place of Police Chief Andy Huang, who is on vacation with his family. He'll be back, I think, tomorrow night. Meanwhile, I'm going to cover a few things that are going on in Federal Way, and then specifically what's going on in this immediate neighborhood right here. There's good news, and there is bad news. And you want to hear both of them, don't you? Which one do you not want to hear? Okay, I'm going to hit you right in the face with it anyway, so brace. Overall, crime from last year to this year, this year isn't over yet. From 2017 to 2018, those years are completed. Crime went down 11% overall, and I will show you the long list of those numbers here shortly. This is the violent crime rate per 100,000 citizens, and you'll see that this starts in 1992, policed by King County at the time, and the city of Federal Way started a police department right there in 1996. Now, this is a federal statistic, which we just grabbed and plopped onto this slide here. You'll see that the violent crime rate has been as high as the 600s. You see it dropping a little bit as low as here. Here's where we were when last tallied by this federal group here. If you want this information, send me an email and I'll just send it to you. And you can check the link and scrutinize it all you want for yourself. But there's the good news, isn't it? That's a considerable drop over those years. Here's another look. This is at property crime. And you can see that up here, this is crime per 100,000. Numbers were significantly higher there, and they're a bit lower here. Now, you'll see some peaks and valleys. There's a valley right there. I will just go right ahead and point out, these are not our numbers. We're taking these off of a federal system. You'll see the source down here. Look at some funny things that happen with the population. I have no explanation for that. These are not our numbers. I'm just putting it up here for you to see. The good news is it has been worse than it is now. This is what population looks like according to a Washington State source. These are the most recent numbers. So you can see the population is increasing in Federal Way. And the National Incident-Based Reporting System, this is the FBI system that we now report our crime statistics to. All of the state of Washington does. We converted from UCR a few years ago, and you see good news on this chart here. You see that we had a spike in 2016, and some of you were among the concerned citizens then. That was a valid year to be very concerned. Every year is. But you can see the good news. It is on a decline as we speak today. I'll show you more of that here in a bit. Here's per capita crime. This is per 1,000 population. You can see that the numbers are on a decline. There, of course, is a peak, 2016. It's on the decline overall. Now, some will say that, yeah, but you're not capturing all the crime that actually happens in Federal Way. We are capturing all the crime that we know about. There are a couple of crimes that we are confident, we have a high degree of confidence, that is nearly 100% reported to us. That is auto theft. If your car gets stolen, we are confident that we get nearly 100% of those crimes reported to us. That one and residential burglary. If your home is broken into, we have a high degree of confidence that nearly 100% of those people will report that to us. So let's look at those two crimes. Auto theft, as you can see, these are raw numbers. You can see there was a banner year, and we're on the decline. It's not. The bad news is, it isn't as good as it has been. The bad news is we still had 800 cars stolen last year. The good news is it is on the decline along with the bulk of crime in general. Let's look at residential burglary, which is next. You'll see that if you are one of those 398 people last year, You're upset about crime in Federal Way, as you should be. My home was broken into out where I live, not in Federal Way. And I was upset about it then. So if you're one of these good people who's going to work and coming home and find your home broken into, you're not happy with that number. That is the bad news, and I'm not afraid to show it to you. The good news is it's less than last year. And we have a high degree of confidence in these numbers being very close to 100% of what is actually happening in our community. This is, of course, the worst crime that can happen. There's 2016 again. There's the good news. If you knew or associated or a loved one with that person, that is the bad news, that it still happened. But as you can see, we get 100% of these crimes reported to us. And it shows the trend in general. Let's look at, there's the whole list of the main 28 crimes that we report to the FBI, from murder at the top all the way down. And you'll see that the overall crime rate from 2017 to 2018 is down 11%, all of these combined. Let's look then at the first quarter of last year compared to the first quarter of this year. So now these are the first 2019 numbers that we're seeing tonight. This is from the first quarter of last year to the quarter that just ended. You'll see that the overall is a 14% reduction comparing one quarter to the next. These are the FBI numbers. Next, let's look. This is just another way of looking at it. These are the raw numbers. The first quarter of last year compared to the first quarter of this year. Raw numbers, not percentages. There's the auto theft. Remember, we believe this is 100% of the auto thefts that actually occurred were reported to us. There they are, and there they are for the first quarter of this year compared to the first quarter of last year, showing the downward trend. Now let's look specifically at the area around Green Gables. I'm not sure that you live right in this neighborhood that's shown in this map. This is what we call reporting district number 4. There is the state park, starting right here. There's District 7, 8, and so forth. Now, I can't chop through every one of these, but let's look at where we are right now. And you're going to see that the sample is so small, it is statistically not meaningful. But I'm going to show them to you anyway. Comparing 2017 with all of 2018, you'll see that there were exactly 4 auto thefts reported in District 4. In 2017, and only 2 reported last year. That's down 50%. That's the good news. The bad news is, if it was your car stolen, that's a car too many. And we want all these numbers to get to 0, don't we? The bad news is, they aren't at 0 yet, but we are working hard to get it there. And so on. I better press on. You can see these for themselves. See what I mean by being statistically not feasible? We had 4 sex offenses reporting in District 4 in 2017, only 1 last year. That is good news, but the numbers are so small, you can't really draw something from it. Here, none of those crimes reported in the first quarter compared to the first quarter of where we're at now. If you want these numbers, send me an email. I will email my portion of this slideshow to you tonight. You can see the sources, you can see the exact numbers, you can scrutinize them, you can call me, and we can talk about it to your heart's content. Meanwhile, the city of Federal Way is one of 7 police departments out of more than 200 in the state of Washington. That's all cities and counties and the Washington State Patrol. More than 200, I think it's close to 250 police departments and sheriff's offices in the state of Washington. Only 7 are nationally accredited, and that includes your Federal Way Police Department. If you want to get on our Safe City program, come back and talk to one of us in the back. We'll tell you how you can get it. It's like an electronic block watch specific to the area where you live. And here are some ways that you can follow us or reach us. There's our non-emergency number. And of course, when it's in progress, please call 911. Mayor, I'm finished, sir. Public Works, EJ.